Agencies Drinking Beer is brought to you by Proposify, software that helps agencies streamline their proposals in the cloud and get faster sign-off.
Welcome to the 16th episode of Agencies Drinking Beer. On today's episode, we're talking with Paul Higgins from Think to Act. He's going to tell us how you can scale a remote team. Well, thank you for joining us today. We're going to get into the interview in a little bit with Paul Higgins, where we're talking about, we actually had that interview out on my balcony. It was kind of noisy. You were like babysitting while I was doing the interview because I had my kids. And
we were good for the beginning. We were out on the deck, and the kids were engaged in a TV show. Then your little guy just kept coming out, screaming, and running back in.
That was a brutal one because also there was some weird thing happening where there was a delay. You know how hard it is when you've got like yourself echoing back in your headphones? It screws up what you're saying.
That was strange.
So I had to like take the headphones off just to talk, and then I'd have to put them on to hear Paul. Ugh. I hope that doesn't come through in the interview.
I wonder why that was.
It was a rough one. I hope it was good.
No, it's good.
Good info from Paul. So what have you been working on this week?
Just getting back to customers and a lot of housekeeping, a lot of documentations going here and there, and finances, and working on
watering some plants, making some beds.
Yeah, working on the ESOP for some of the new employees and all that good stuff. Right.
Well, I wanted to tell listeners what I've been working on this last couple of weeks, which is kind of nice. We've got a bigger team now, so we've got we're not as spread so thin, so it's good for us. We can kind of work on more high level stuff. So one thing that I did that was pretty fun was, and it had a few stages to it, so it's not something you can kind of do all in one swoop, but I think for any listeners, even if you run a service agency, it's a good process to go through every now and then. So what we did was a while back, this would have been a few months ago, we did some research on our customers and figured who was using our app the most, or who was writing the most proposals, who was kind of a power user. And then we sent out a survey to about 100 or so and asked them different questions about, what they like and what they don't like. And in the process of doing that, so what I did about a week or a week and a half ago was really just kind of poured through those survey answers and tried to pick out, who is the most high value customer, who's getting the most out of the product, and then put those together kind of in a spreadsheet and just figure out, do some research into those people, look at their LinkedIn profiles, look at their websites, figure out where they are and what kind of business they run. And it's a really good thing to go through every now and then. It's something that, if you run an agency, you've got probably fewer customers, more high-value accounts to go through. But it really kind of helps you narrow down your target audience. And I think too many people, especially we talk about it all the time when you run an agency, is you're just, ready to sell your services to whoever wants to hire you, and you don't really go through and try to pick out a target persona or even two or three of them. So this is kind of what it helps with, and we found some really interesting insights. But then what I did from there was I reached out to a few of those and asked them if they wanted to be case studies, because we don't do that existing on our site. We don't have a case study section, and a lot of those people I talk to are really happy to do a case study. And so what I did was I compiled a list of questions, sent it off to them in advance, and then had a phone call with them where we talked through it, recorded the phone call, and then we're going to write the case study from that. So I wanted to kind of list out what those questions were, and I think the value for people listening would be maybe think about the questions that you can write, the questions that you can ask your past clients that you want to feature. Because I remember when we ran Headspace, we did this where usually we'd write a case study. We wouldn't talk to the actual client. We would just think back and, what was that project like? What did we design? What was the kind of goal? We'd sort of look at the brief, and then we would just publish it. We didn't actually have an interview with the client to be like, what was the process like? How were you happy with the end result? Did you get results from it? And kind of tell it from their side, other than just here's some stuff we worked on.
Mm-hmm. The case studies, though, were very effective and a major part of any proposal, especially in the agency world. But we could have brought it to the next level, you're right, and get them more engaged.
Yeah, too many times I think agencies do this a lot is it becomes a bit of a beauty contest. Because they just think the clients want to see the end, what does the design look like?
Name dropping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or it's like, we had this challenge to solve, the client needed more customers, they needed this or they needed that, and here's something we designed, and it had a CMS and it had these features, and boom, maybe, you list a few results, but very seldom do you actually hear from the client's perspective, here was the challenge I was facing. I went to, agency X. They helped me solve my problem this way. It's changed my business. Hear it from their perspective. I think that's more powerful.
It is. I mean, basically what a case study is what it should be, is a kind of a referral or a testimonial, I should say, on steroids. Really.
Yeah.
Go right in depth into the project, and even getting a testimonial on the case study is nice too. We used to do that a bit sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, you always want those pull quotes to use elsewhere. I think testimonials, sometimes aren't trusted because they just think, oh, somebody just made that up and posted like a random pic from Google search that's like, I love this product, I would use it, I would recommend it. But when you kind of tell the story from that customer side, it's hard to fake that. And plus, using their name, they can look them up, they can see they're real. So
right.
There you go. We talked about case studies.
Excellent.
Oh, and actually one thing I wanted to mention too that I found really valuable is, in addition to just doing the interviews for the case studies, is I started asking them, and I said, don't worry, this isn't going to be, we're not going to publish these answers, but stuff like, what are your go-to blogs that you read every day or read every week to, learn more about business or improve your business? Who are the top 3 people that you follow that you think are just gurus? And in general, what's the biggest challenge that you face running a business? And the reason I ask those questions is because then that can inform the content that we produce. So if you're an agency, you can ask your clients that stuff, find out who they're following, what blogs they're reading, and then that can inform, the style of content that you write, the challenges that you're trying to help them with through the blogging, and even just like reaching out to influencers or getting guest posts on those blogs can then help you reach more of that target persona. I think it's
very powerful, big time.
Cool. All right. Well, with that in mind, let's move on to the interview with Paul.
Let's do it.
Do we still do that?
No, that was from when we used to have the questions. The top. The top 3 posts. That's what it was.
We should do that before the interviews now.
Okay.
That would be kind of cool.
That's a good song. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll do it.
Is that the same song as the intro?
Nope.
Hey, we're here talking with Paul Higgins from Think to Act. Think to Act is a company that helps agencies grow through people. Thanks for being on the show, Paul.
My pleasure. Great to be here.
Awesome. Great to have you. So, let's just get into it and maybe tell us a little bit about your background, how you got started, and how Think to Act came about.
Yeah, so my background, I went through uni working for a company called Coca-Cola.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah, you might have heard of it. So just doing, odd jobs. My father worked there for 25 years, and basically I just did any odd job they had going, from merchandising to working at the tennis. It was great, but I promised myself that I'd never work there, given the fact that my father worked there. And long story short, I finished uni, they threw me a set of keys, and 18 years later I was still there. So I had a brilliant career with them, worked both, always living in Australia, but worked on local and global projects. And in 2011, due to two key reasons, one was my health wasn't great, and the second was I always wanted to run my own gig, so I left it there in 2011, and yes, started my, I suppose, the other side, corporate over into the good side, so to speak.
So you kind of jump ship from corporate life to entrepreneurship. Was that a really sudden jump, or did you kind of plan it very carefully over a period of time?
Well, I procrastinated for about 10 years. So, I kept thinking, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And then I just got to a point where I just said, you know what? I'm never going to find the ideal thing to do. So, yeah, I just basically left and started from scratch. And to be honest, the first 12 months, just tried to find my feet, didn't really know what I was going to do. And 4 years later, we've, got a good business.
So how did you come up with the idea for Think to Act and the idea of helping companies with outsourcing? What spawned that idea?
Yeah, so when I left Coke, I was doing some training. I don't know if you're familiar with a company called Franklin Covey, but most people know that 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah, so I was doing a program and it basically combined Covey's principles with neuroscience. So I was going around presenting to blue chip companies, but also running workshops with sort of agencies and startups, and it was all one thing, which is I just got no time. I just do not have any time in my business, and I was finding it a bit the same. I'd gone from a 150 person team when I was marketing director at Coke to I'm all on my own, and I was the same. I was working more hours than I ever had, and I just thought there's got to be a way to crack this. There was a lot of articles talking about what the problem was, but I wanted to come up with a solution. So, in short, I combined two things: people and technology. So, I tried different options of outsourcing from freelance, and I ended up. There was a company called Bain, which I grabbed their top expert on outsourcing in the world and just said, what should I do? I had him for a day. Next week, jumped on a plane, went to Manila, and basically worked with a couple of providers there, and then stumbled across a technology platform called Podio and basically linked them together. So that's how TTA basically started. It started from me seeing a real pain point with people, and then me trying to solve that for myself, and then people loved what I'd solved, and then it sort of grew from there.
So you're currently helping agencies with their growth and being able to hire and outsource teams to, fulfill the work for clients. Is it mostly the consulting, or maybe walk us through some of those services, or do you actually find people, I guess headhunting or whatever? Do you do any of that stuff, or is it mainly just kind of the consulting?
Yeah, look, I had an advisory arm, and I've sort of scaled that back a little bit. I still find I'm doing a lot of that. So when I go in and work with a client, just because of my background with Coke, and Coke's not a bad run business, and my other experience, I just by default help people. So I don't often charge them for that, but I just give them advice, and that's often, first, how are you developing your local team? So, are you getting your best out of your local team? And Coke, because it had 700,000 plus employees, just had some brilliant ways to manage their people. So I often find that they're not in the agency side, they're in the client side, but not the agency side. So I help people with that. And then from there, we start to look at, what are the gaps? So what are the skill gaps in the current people that we can develop, but what are the ones that we can then supplement with the building their virtual team up? So that's, so I'm doing advisory, but it's all to help them grow their business through people.
Okay. Are mainly coming in, at the ground floor, working with small companies who are growing, or do you kind of focus or set your sights mainly on working with, mid to large size companies that need to grow further, or kind of everything in between?
Yeah, no, look, sort of our sweet spot at the moment is that, an agency might be around for 5 plus years. The owners build it, normally they've left a big agency to start their own agency. Things are going okay, but they're realising that they're, basically paying everyone else and their revenue's growing, but their profit's not growing, and, they're out of time themselves. So, so the pain points for them are pretty high, and they may not want to be bought by a bigger global agency or go into a pool, but they certainly want to grow from where they are. and start to scale. So that's sort of the sweet spot, that sort of 5 year, might have, 11 to 50 people. Normally it's, sort of 11 to sort of 20 people. And they just want to start making better profit, which means that they're servicing their clients better. Is sort of the key sweet spot for us.
Yeah, it's the hardest, industry to kind of market and build. I mean, speaking from an agency owner, when I ran the business with Kevin, we always struggle with that, because the only way to really grow the business is to hire people. It's, you're selling hours at the end of the day. So I'm sure you would probably say the same thing. One of the hardest things to scale would be a service agency. So how do you kind of help your clients work through that?
Yeah, look, it's so I completely agree with what you said. So the first thing is to give them some visibility to what is billable versus non. I find a lot of agencies don't even track that. So the first thing is to say, well, across your team at the moment, what are the billable hours? And we normally work it on a per month basis. So it gives people some visibility of, where are the people that are performing really well, and where are the people that can improve. So that sort of sets the base, I suppose, calibrates the base. And then from there, we look at what the client's needs are and what they don't have capacity to fill. So therefore, a bit of the advisory and the strategy is to recalibrate that, and that's when we bring people in at typically about a third of the price that you can get local. But the most important thing is that the local people are probably doing 50% of their job is normally admin, just stuff that they shouldn't be doing. So if we remove that 50% of admin, that gives more capacity. You've got more visibility to billable hours. Then you start to work on how you can actually start to sell more hours in a way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's really cool. Just thinking about that, what would you say is the biggest reason why an agency who's looking to grow like that would outsource a team and not just hire locally? Is it mainly the cost savings of hiring somebody in maybe another country that they can work for lower wages, or is it, again, just people who have very specialized skill needs and they just can't find that locally?
Yeah, look, I think it's a couple of things. One is that it gets local people to play to their strengths, as I said. Often people are doing stuff that they just don't either know how to do or don't like doing. So we remove that. So that's sort of one key thing. The second is give a better client experience. People know, agency owners know that they should spend more time with their clients, and they just can't get out of the office to do it, or they can't get in to talk to clients more. So by having people take care of the back end, that certainly helps with that. The other one is speed to market. So getting stuff done quicker will just compound profit. So they're probably the three key things. And then, look, cost just allows you to manage your cash flow. So, I don't think cost is the number one thing. I think those three things are the key reasons why you do it. Just makes it easier to do it when it's effectively a lot more affordable than local people.
Do you ever get any of your clients who are kind of a little bit afraid to hire people from another country or people who aren't local? Like, there's sometimes that mindset that you want asses in seats. You want all your people in kind of one place that you can have, in-person meetings, grab them for lunch, build that sort of internal team culture. I mean, how do you kind of navigate that, some of those concerns or those issues that a lot of agencies might have?
Yeah, so to answer the first part of the question is everybody has that fear. I'm yet to find anyone that doesn't. So it's real. The people that we work through, it's like most fears in life, the actual is always, or in most cases, less than the fear. So we just show them some case studies of how we've worked with other agencies So the same fears that they had, we have some examples with other agencies where that they haven't become apparent. And I suppose the other thing with this is that's why you work with someone like us to actually help you work through that. But look, the fears are there. Everyone has them. It's just a matter of working through each individual's fear and making sure they're comfortable. But we're yet to have a situation where someone's gone through this journey and backed out of it. So often the fear is far greater than the actual experience.
Yeah, that makes sense. When you're outsourcing a team like that, do you find it's generally you have a core team who's kind of there in wherever the company's located? There's sort of that in-house team, and then there's people from all over the place who are mainly doing like production work, or do you ever have external salespeople? I guess what are sort of the roles that you often outsource in this kind of setting?
Yeah, so it's normally a combination of. So there's sort of three approaches. There's one which is freelancers, as you said, and those freelancers are normally in existence for an agency, and they're spread all over the world. So that's sort of one. And then the second one is working with a provider. So actually having your team in an office and they're all working together as a team. And I think the people that do it really well is they just see it as, someone in a satellite office. It's not someone working in, a call center somewhere in the world or whatever. They're just, they're people, but they're just in a physical different location. And then the third one is setting up your own office. And we sort of recommend that when you get to sort of, 50 plus people, the economics start to work. And so there's sort of the three models. And what you can do, it's basically anything that's not face-to-face, and sort of start with the things that least touch the customer through to the things that are customer-facing. So, we normally start with admin, finance, and then customer support, and normally that's non-voice customer support. And then, right through to sales is probably the thing that you do last. So there's a progression which helps reduce some of that fear of protecting your brand, which is really important as an agency, as you know, protecting your brand by working through that.
Yeah, and where, I guess, would you find people on the production side who are doing like design, development, writing, they're actually creating the work? Do they sort of fall in the middle?
Yes. Yeah, yes. And like I said, some of them, like some people have brilliant freelancers that are great, so they'll have them, but then as they start to scale, they'll want to build more, and that's when content writers, graphic designers, developers, etc., they're the type of people that we normally have sitting together.
So how do you, I guess, we talked a little bit about the fears that people have about outsourcing a team. How do you build a culture when people work all over the world, different time zones? A lot of times they've never even met face to face. Is there any kind of practices, like maybe having yearly meetups or something like that, where people can just feel more of like a tight knit team and you get to build that culture a little bit?
Yeah. So we, if you start from a daily perspective, we have daily huddles. They can be on Skype, they can be on video. So you're actually, meeting as if someone is just down the road. So I think that's really important to do that. Then we have with a lot of our clients, they'll have then updates. So they might be fortnightly updates where they get everyone on a call and they basically just update where the company is. There's also, we recommend and give people the structure around different people practices, so around performance reviews, plans, work in progress meetings, those type of things. So the same things that should be happening in your agency where people's, right next to you should be the same thing that's happening. And then I recommend people go and actually see their team, 3 to 4 times a year. So I know for me, I'm with my team, at least 4 times a year, and that's when you sort of get them all together. And what we normally do is set a key goal. So we might have a number that we want to hit, or a customer experience we want to hit, and if we hit that, we might have an awesome event. And then if we don't, we sort of have a less so. So there's a bit of a reward, but people love, especially the team in Manila, where we've got ours, that they love to see you in person. So try to get there as much as you can.
Yeah, I guess it really, at the end of the day, it's not that different from, like I'll take us as an example. Now, we're not an agency. We're all based out of the same place. But we don't always work in the same room together. A lot of times, I mean, right now, I know for you it's winter right now in Australia, but for us in Canada, it's really hot. So a lot of us, it's just too uncomfortable to sit in the office we're in right now working. So a lot of us are working from home or working at the library where it's air conditioned, and we're just keeping in touch over Slack and that sort of thing. So I suppose, really it's not that much different other than maybe the time zone being different, right?
Yeah, spot on. And look, I was used to it because with Coke, that's the way the Coke world worked. You just, every day I was talking to people all over the world. There was 700 and whatever thousand people. And if you ever had a problem, you just turn to someone somewhere else in the world to try to solve it. So I've been wired that way. And I've just continued that here. Like, my team, we use a platform called Podio, and I think you interviewed my business partner, Scott, from Bolo Empire recently.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so, we use Podio, and that is just, I can be anywhere in the world and be connected to my team. The technology, like Coke, we had SAP as our key platform, hundreds of millions of dollars to set that up. What we can set Podio up for agencies and give them that, you can be anywhere and basically on your mobile phone run all your workflows and all your team. It's just sensational. So, I think there's never been a better time to do it. It's just that people often have a fear because they've never done it before. But once you get past that, it can be really, really exciting and really beneficial.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking of people who are listeners often are agency owners or higher up in agencies, and I mean, what would you say for anybody listening who thinks that they're at that level where they need some help? What stage do you think they should be in where they should maybe contact Think to Act?
Yeah, so look, I think the first thing is talk to their peers. Talk to other people in their circle and find those people that have gone through a similar thing. I think that gives them reassurance that it's not as as scary as they think. And then seek someone who does it for a living. So this is my game. This is what I'm best at. Talk to me or someone like me, and it's you'll realise that all of our experience from doing things ourselves, we can make it so much easier for companies to go through. And then it's just a matter of picking what option. So like I said before, do you want freelance, do you want to provide an office solution, or you want to set up your own? Find a trusted company to work with, and then there's a whole series of steps I'd recommend to actually to implement it. So that's a long way of probably answering your question, but that's what I do.
No, it's a great way of answering the question.
Yeah, what do you think the key, because you guys have been in the game, what do you think the key barrier to people actually, talking to people like me, what do you think the key barrier is from an agency perspective?
Honestly, for me, it's just a matter of I like to have people in the same place, meet in the same office, go out for lunch, go out for walks in the park. I mean, that's just kind of a selfish thing, but I could see maybe growing and outsourcing the team. Like for us, as we grow, we're going to need more, say, customer support people in other time zones. So I think eventually we're just going to need, the reality is we'll need to be at the place where we hire outsource people from different countries. But I think in an agency setting, especially if you're doing a lot of creative work and design and marketing, there's a huge benefit for just being able to walk by somebody's desk and say, hey, I've got an idea. What do you think of this? It is a little bit harder to do that over Slack and over email and all the other tools. And I'd say that would be my biggest barrier.
Yeah, that's great perspective. And I think what we're saying is that you can still have that, and you can actually do more of that. You can do more time of talking with people, etc., because you're not buried in your email and calendar and claims and all the stuff that stops you doing that. So we're saying, actually, if you want to do more of that, we just help you by taking away that 50% that stops you doing that. So that's the way that I look at it. It actually gives you more time to do that. So the people we have the action partners that work on people's calendar, email calendar task and sales support. And a creative agency I'm working a director at the moment, he's just found so much time back in his life to spend with his his team and develop his team, that because he used to do 5 hours of email a day. That's all he was doing. He never actually left his chair.
Yeah, I mean, I really liked what you said too about how when you're starting somebody out, you often go with the roles like admin roles and finance people, and I mean, those are things when you think about how people hire lawyers and accountants all the time, and they don't work in the office. They are technically outsourced, even if they're in the same city. So I would say that is a pretty good gateway drug to outsourcing your team. Is, like you say, starting with admin people, not just starting with like the core sales, production, design, development teams.
Yeah, and if you look at Coke, like I said, I was with Coke 18 years. The marketing people really at Coke were just the people that channeled work out to all the agencies. They had such a small team in-house. So I'm just used to this model where you're actually, Coke marketing people actually hardly did any of the work themselves. They all used third-party agencies. It was just the way it went. Like, to me, it's the exact same thing, but you're just taking it from client over into agency side.
Right.
But also with the turbulent economy and whatnot, I mean, I'm sure you've gotten really busy because people want to have that ability to scale up and scale down and have outsourced people that aren't on payroll. I mean, that probably is a benefit.
Especially here, I don't know what Canada's like, but here in Australia, trying to get rid of someone in a nice way is just, it's impossible. So if you've picked the wrong person, trying to basically move to get a better person is so difficult. There's so much red tape. Whereas with us, it's like, okay, that's good. We can normally redeploy someone to another client, or we, within the first 5 months, you can basically just say goodbye, because there's so many jobs, opportunities in Manila, that they'll just walk into another job the minute you say, sorry, you're not right here. Whereas in Australia, that's just so hard to do. It's as soon as you say to someone you're underperforming, they go on sick leave, and basically it could be a 3-4 month exercise just to move them on, and then it's another couple of months to get someone, and you're so nervous whether you get the right person. It just becomes a spiral where you say, well, I just don't want to put any more people on.
Yeah.
The client works there, but I don't. It's too many headaches to put the people on, so I'll just accept not turning over as much.
Yeah, that's a very nice way to say it as well. Redeploying to another client, I like that. And I think to Kevin's point too is sometimes when sales are going great and you're closing lots of business as an agency, the scary thing is always, do I hire somebody else? We have so much work to do, we don't know who's going to fulfill it, are we going to be able to meet the deadlines and so forth, and this will give you a much quicker way to be able to deploy people to clients. But then at the same time, you go through periods or months where sales are down and you don't have as many projects, and it's not that anyone's underperforming, but sometimes you just, not hiring a freelancer is better than laying somebody off.
Yeah, great point. And the other thing I find is just around expertise. So, I don't know, let's say Xero or an accounting software. like you as an agency owner don't have the time to actually train someone and skill someone on how to keep up with the latest on the accounting software. You know, that's not your gig. But with us, if you've got a team of people that's all they do, it's my job to make sure they're trained and skilled on the latest. So it actually allows you to have the best experts without putting in all the hard work. And I find that's really hard where you've got smaller agencies. To get an expert for something in the world is really, really difficult. But if you've got a pool of them sitting together, it makes it so much easier to do that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Cool.
You know, and that's what we're doing with Podio, basically, is having, you know, developers that all sit together and they all feed off each other. So that point you made around being in the same office and basically walking and talking, we completely agree with that as well, and that's why we had people in one office in Manila all sitting together versus all working from home.
Yeah, that's great. It's kind of like the best of both worlds.
Yeah, that's what we hope.
Cool. Well, I think we're out of time, but once again, thanks, Paul, and you know, stay in touch with us. Come on the show again, and we'll look forward to talking to you soon.
Yeah, and I'd love to, and I'm always, you know, here in Australia, you know, every time I touch an agency or talk to an agency owner, I mention you guys and your podcast. I think you're doing a fantastic job, and you know, I've scoured the world. There's no one doing what you guys are doing, and also, you know, with Proposify, we use it ourselves, and we also, I'm always letting clients know that that's an opportunity because most people here are still doing it, you know, the old way through PDF and PowerPoint.
Awesome. So what you're saying is we need to build an integration with Podio.
You do. Now that, and we've got the people that can help with that.
For some reason, we are getting a lot of traction, which is awesome in Australia. How did you hear about us, out of curiosity?
Scott is the short answer. What I'll do is get Scott to send you an email on how he found you guys.
Well, the crazy thing is that you know, Canada and Australia are very similar in a lot of ways, culture and even population size. In fact, I think Australia might have a lower population than Canada. So I guess that's part of our surprise is just how many of we have way more Australian customers than we do Canadian customers, and there's a similar population.
Yeah, well, we're 23 million.
And we're like 33 million, I think.
But I think there's a lot of similarities. I've been to Canada a couple of times, and yeah, I think there's a lot of similarities. The only thing is when you say we're in winter, we complain when it gets to 1 degree Celsius or 0, whereas what you guys crack, minus, no, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, once it hits minus 20, we start complaining. And of course, people listening in the States will, I've had this so many times where you talk about like 0 degrees or 10 degrees and they're thinking Fahrenheit. So we're talking Celsius for those listening who are from America.
All right, brilliant. Thanks a lot, guys. Really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Paul. Have a great day.
Cheers. Bye.
Right, see you. Bye.
Well, hopefully that wasn't too painful with me being all, you know, distracted, and I think Paul's got a lot of good insights there.
Yeah, I heard most of them, but I was also chasing your youngest son around your apartment because we had to do this one remotely at Kyle's apartment.
On the balcony with like wind and cars outside.
What floor are you on?
18th.
18, wow. Yeah,
Ricky gets weak at the knees.
He does.
Ricky's our product manager. He doesn't like heights.
Captain phobia.
Yeah. Every time like Ty would run on the balcony, Ricky just like, oh geez, like he just was about to lose it. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed that interview. As always, we want to hear your questions, and we want you to rate and review us on the iTunes store. And we will talk with you later.
Thanks for listening. Thank you.